We'll be singing when we're losing. We'll find out if Austin FC get back up after they've got knocked down again on another episode of Final Whistle ATX. Hey everyone, and welcome to another episode of Final Whistle ATX with me, Nick. We've got Wyatt, we've got Harley, and we're here at BD Riley's.
Cheers.
Cheers, boys.
Ooh. Delicious.
Yeah, so last time we were cheersing a win. This time we're toasting a loss, but the most goals ever scored at Q2 for a single game with 8. And I think it was Austin FC's first loss when they've scored 3 goals. Wyatt, what did you think of the game?
I don't even know where to start with this game. There was so much all over the place. I mean, it seems like we've taken another step forward on offense. We're going to get to this later, but our defense took a step back, I would say. Romagna was out of position a lot. At halftime, we switched out our defense a little bit, and we saw results pretty fast after that. But I don't know exactly how to answer your question because there were so many emotions throughout that whole game.
Right.
I mean, 5-3, and the way we gave up some of those goals, I know we lost by two goals, but it really felt like we gave it away again. And I know that's the Austin FC fan in me. Maybe from an outsider's perspective, I wouldn't be saying that, but it just feels like some of those goals were disappointing, to say the least.
Yeah, I feel like we shut off after we tied it up because we were down by 1 early. And then we tied it up 1-1, and you think, oh, wow, Austin FC have some fight in them. We're going to get back in the game. We're going to win from a losing position today, maybe. Mm-hmm. And then they shipped away 3 goals before halftime.
Yeah.
And it was like, okay.
And they happened so fast.
Yeah.
It felt like a 5 or 6 minute period. They scored 2 or 3 goals, right?
Yeah,
That's really hard to bounce back from. And not only that, but losing to your rivals for the second time in, I think, less than a month, it just really sucks. I think the fan base and the team really wanted to get one over FC Dallas, and to come out and start that way sets a really bad tone. And then, like you said, bang, bang, bang with the Dallas goals going in, and Pepe, now a US young player, just looking really good.
We'll see. He still hasn't decided officially.
I think he has. I think he decided this week.
He can
for the
still
US.
change his mind, though. So we'll see. But with that said,
awesome young player, and it just sucks to lose a game that way, I guess.
But we used to be a team that was struggling on offense, and defense was our struggle. What are we now? Are we the opposite? We've scored 6 goals in 2 games.
Yeah.
We've won 1 and lost 1. Are we now more in trouble at the back?
First of all, I think that this is the time of year where this question is the most interesting, right? Because all season it's been good defense, bad offense, frankly.
Right.
Like that's been pretty easy to see. So yeah, this is the most interesting time to actually have that. I think it's the first time that you can actually call it a conversation. I don't want to overreact. I think it's one bad game. I think there was a fluke goal or 2 in there. I think it's the first time that Austin FC's conceded more than 2 goals in a game, which really isn't that bad. So I'm going to keep faith with the defense. I'm going to keep faith with Brad Stuver, who's had a very good season still. And in attack, things are definitely looking better with 6 goals in the last 2 games and with Driussi looking really good. But maybe that style that we've seen of playing a bit more aggressively has caused more problems at the back. So it may be related to conceding more goals.
From a visiting fan perspective, going to Q2 to watch Austin FC, you'd rather lose 5-3 than 2-0.
Yeah.
So it does make for a more entertaining game, even if the end result is a loss.
I think that we shouldn't overreact to this as well because throughout the whole season we've been solid on defense. We've struggled to score goals. So I don't want to overreact to one bad game either. At least one of those goals was on the counterattack, which goes to what you said about our style of play possibly being part of it. Passing out of the back proved again to be a miscalculation. Yet another Brad Stuver mistake, which is not something we've been more used to saying it the last month or so, but before that we would have never imagined saying that. He was one of the best keepers in the MLS, and he still is. To me, we still need to figure out our offense because yes, we scored 3 goals. Yes, we look better with Driussi at the top. But throughout the season, our defense has been great, and this was a bad game. So I think that if you're asking which one am I most worried about, I'm still most worried about the offense and seeing it consistently.
I want to go back to what you said about Brad Stuver making mistakes, and I agree. Like you do call those mistakes technically, but I would much rather my goalkeeper make mistakes, if we're going to call it that, with his feet than with his hands. We're not seeing shots go through Brad Stuver's hands. We're not seeing him let goals in that he should be saving. We're seeing mistakes, and it's happened maybe 2 or 3 times all season, so not a lot. But mistakes when he's tried to play a pass and it's gone to the opposition striker, and that's led to a goal. That, to me, is more of a coaching problem than a Brad Stuver problem. That, to me, looks like a player who is probably not as comfortable with his feet as you would like him to be in the system, which means the system probably isn't perfect.
One of the commentators for FS1 brought up something that we've talked about a few times over the course of the last few weeks. Does the system, are the players good enough for the system that Wolf wants to play, this passing out of the back? Or is it a system for maybe a few seasons away from now when the players have either had more time to practice it or we've gotten better players?
Yeah.
I mean, you have to have very special center backs to be able to play that style. That's why so few teams do it successfully playing out of the back, Manchester City being one of them. But those center backs who can pass, who can handle like that, are essentially extensions of the midfield. They're far and few between, and that's why there's not a lot of them in the MLS. But there's no excuse. We lost to FC Dallas. They beat us fair and square. We had an excuse last time because there was injuries, there was the fatigue factor. There's no excuse. They were better than us, and they probably are better than us this year. And it sucks to say that, but there's no excuse this time.
I think that wondering about whether the players are good enough is a little unfair on the players. And I know that was not your words, it was like the announcer's words on FS1, but I think that you can play that style with this team. I think there's good technical players, and I think you can do it. And some of the best soccer that we've seen from Austin FC this season.
Drink every time he does that.
Yeah, dollar in the swear jar. Some of the best football.
Here we go.
Here we go again.
$2. Some of the best soccer that we've seen from Austin FC this season, I did it, has been from when they've been playing out from the back with these really neat short passes, sucks in the opposition team, and they're able to work the ball and then get it quickly to the other side of the field. And you kind of sense in Q2 the fans having a real appreciation for that, the other team being caught out with too many players far up the pitch. It really, really works sometimes. The problem for me is the stubbornness with this system. I think that you have to give players permission to clear the ball, and I do not think that Josh Wolf has given his goalkeeper and his defenders permission to clear the ball if they're under pressure. And I said about 2 or 3 weeks ago on this show, and it makes me sound very, very smart in hindsight, that I'm a little bit worried about sticking so firmly to this style. I think that Josh Wolf has told them not to kick it long or kick it out, and if they concede goals along the way, that's something that happens. But I think you have to give permission to your players to be able to do what they think is right in the circumstance, rather than concede a goal like we did at the weekend.
Yeah, I feel like we've been giving away really cheap goals because we've been passing to the middle, maybe at the top of the penalty box, and then there's been a player of the opposing team right there willing to pick it up, and then they knock a few passes together, and then we've given away a goal. And I think that happened a few times in the last game and several times this season.
And against a team like FC Dallas with the scorers that they have, we just can't do that. They have guys who finish, and that's what happened.
And it also happened in the Houston game, and that didn't cost us because Austin was up, I think, 3-1 at the time,
right.
And that was a late goal that made it 3-2. But it went from being a very comfortable game to all of us sitting on the edge of our seats just because of that goal, which they didn't really need to concede at all. So it's something that's on my radar.
Let's talk about this. Different topic here, but it's one that the Austin FC world has been talking about a lot. Mostly people complaining from the outside when they see Austin FC give up a goal or lose badly. The fans are still cheering. And for me, I know I'm the host and I sort of delegate the questions. You want your fans are there to boost you when you're down and celebrate you when you're up. You know what I mean? I could understand if a goal goes in against you that the songs stop briefly when you go, oh no, and then you're right back hitting the drum and singing the songs again. So I don't have a problem with it. I think it makes our fan base look great. What do you guys think?
I think that Austin FC fans have kind of been judged this whole year. I mean, from cheer practice that we've had, which people are mad about, but it's our first year. And, obviously we don't all know the songs yet. We don't know all the cheers yet. But when you see the stadium and you see the way we're singing and cheering, it's because of what we did before the season started in those cheer practices. I'm not sure what you call them. But we were getting judged for that. And I think to be judged for this, for cheering our team when we're down, I'm conflicted. Because I think if I was from Philadelphia, my answer would be completely different. They like practice booing in the mirror, it seems like. But I don't know. In Austin, it seems like it really helped us in that second half. They kept cheering and we kept fighting. So if you see results like that, I know we lost the game, but we didn't lose because the fans were cheering too loud. We came back probably because we had home field advantage.
I think it's not black and white. I think it's a gray area. And I'm going to put my neck on the line a little bit here, and this is just my opinion. I'm not like saying it's something that they should do or shouldn't do. But to me, the biggest problem that I have is that it sometimes feels like the stadium doesn't recognize when momentous things happen in the game. Like, I like to see the stadium get upset when the referee gives a yellow card to an Austin FC player. And I think that if Austin FC concedes a goal at home, I think it would be natural for the volume to go down a little bit, for there to be some kind of recognition amongst the fans that they've conceded a goal and it's a sad moment. I think that they should still be singing when they're losing, for sure. I think that's like just good for the environment. I definitely don't think they should be booing. I think there should be celebration that this team even exists. But I do think there needs to be a little bit more awareness about what's going on in the game, just me personally.
So do you find that there's not much difference in celebrating when we've scored versus when we haven't? That if you looked at the certain area of the pitch and the fan base there, that you would be able to look at them and tell whether we're winning or losing?
To me, a truly great soccer stadium ebbs and flows with the game, and the fans go with the pace of the game, and they pick it up when the pace of the game increases or it gets more intense or there's a goal, and there are times when it divots, and that makes those peaks more exciting and more intense. So for me, there needs to be more of that up and down rather than just the flat, constant like craziness and partying. I definitely think it's really cool, and I think that the fans have doing a great thing. The music's amazing. I have so much respect and time for these fan groups, but to me, that's just one thing that I think doesn't quite hit the nail on the head.
There's got to be also an element of jealousy from other fan groups and other teams that see what we've already created at Q2 in just a year, and they are maybe going on several years and don't have anything like that, right?
One of the reasons that we probably have the problem that you're talking about, Harley, I don't know if I'd call it a problem, but that we have what's happening is we don't quite have the history to be upset or to be mad about, you know, like, and I'm taken to moments that I've seen, like the Red Sox versus the Yankees, like in the early 2000s. If you watch a game and the Yankees start to come back, like you can literally feel
Baseball
the crowd.
History with Wyatt.
I'm just saying, you can feel the crowd kind of like, it's happening again. Like, we just can't beat this team. It's happening again. And Austin FC, we just don't have that history yet to really see, like, to be completely deflated yet. Like, we're in year one. We're sold out. Fans are probably drinking. They're having a great time. They haven't been disappointed yet to the point where they're like booing us yet. Does that make sense? But I think you bring up a good point that it should ebb and flow with the game. But again, this is year one, and we're not used to even being at soccer games weekly yet. I think that'll come.
And I think it's fair to say, I don't think this is the fan in me, but I think it's fair to say that FC Dallas and Houston Dynamo will never, they have never and will never have an atmosphere like Q2 Stadium. I just think that's the truth. Like, maybe it's the city that they're in, maybe it's the fan base, but the fan base here in Austin, after a few months of soccer, already is better than anything that they've ever had. And that's not a shot. You know, FC Dallas beat us twice on the pitch, so they've got the bragging rights, all right, and they will do for a while. But we have something that they will never have, something that they will always be jealous of.
Let's talk about this Saturday's game. It's against Vancouver, arguably one of our worst games of the year. Was when we played Vancouver just a few weeks ago, and now we're going to Vancouver to play them. What do we think is going to happen?
At the time, like I think I called it like the lowest point of Austin FC's season. Very quietly, Vancouver is on an unbeaten streak of 9 games right now, I believe. So they've very quietly like entered the playoff race in the West, whereas Austin FC have slipped away a little bit. I think they're going to be a playoff team based off this form and how they're peaking. If you rewind a couple of episodes ago, I was going crazy about Ryan Gold, the Scottish Messi, I called him, and I think Vancouver fans are calling him that. Since they signed him, they've looked like a completely different team. They are winning games. He is scoring goals. He, for me, is already one of the best players in this league. I will go that far. And I think it's going to be very, very tricky for Austin, who blow hot and cold, as we know so well, to go up to where it's very cold and try and get a result. I think it's going to be very hard.
Well, you saw him play live, and you know you can always tell something different when you see him play live.
Yeah.
So, are you were the closest of our predictions last week in what would happen with the Dallas game. We're jumping ahead a little bit, but what's your prediction, having said all of that about the Scottish Messi for this game?
Something changed in that last Vancouver game. Austin was winning 1-0 at halftime. They brought on Ryan Gold, and they suddenly looked like tearing Austin to pieces going forward. There was I think people that really know soccer watching that game saw something happening and thought, oh, this isn't good. So I'm usually pretty optimistic with my guesses. I guessed right that there was going to be goals last week. I didn't quite get the amount of goals right.
Your guess last time was
3-3.
And the score was
3-5.
3-5. It was close.
But I'm going to be more pessimistic this week. I think Vancouver's a good team. I think it's the same result as last time, 2-1 Vancouver.
2-1, okay. Wyatt.
One of the things I'm curious about for this game is Pochettino. Where is he going to play? Because he's actually been in incredible form the last few games, especially last game. Probably the best I've seen him play. He was
off the
so
bench
confident.
as well.
Off the bench. And so that means one of two things. Either A, he's earning a starting spot, or B, we're finding this is where he's most natural. I don't know what the answer is. That's for Josh Wolf to decide. But if he does come on, it's probably going to be at the expense of Pereira, because I don't think Ring is ever going to come off the field unless we carry him off. So I don't know. I kind of feel like Pochettino's earned the right to play in this game. My expectation would be a tie. I think there's going to be goals scored. I think it's going to be 2-2. That's my prediction. Are we going to see Gite again? Probably. He didn't. I don't want to say he looked good or bad. We barely touched the ball, I think 5 or 6 times last game. I think we see more of him this game coming up. So with him and Pochettino in, I'm really curious what that looks like. But I think we put in 2, and I think we give away 2.
I'm going to go with an Austin FC loss, 3-1.
Oh, no.
I think it would be worse given Vancouver's form, but I think we try and tighten things up a little more at the back based on last game. But we're also playing them when they're peaking and also away. So I think the odds are against us. But we did talk. You did just
We're like
mention,
doom and gloom this week, aren't we?
You did mention hot and cold.
Uh-oh,
it's
dad joke
possible-
coming.
No, it's possible they lost last week that we rebound this week in a way.
Yeah.
And I'm not factoring that into my
I think Austin FC's
expectations.
some of our best results have come when we least expected them, like the 3-1 against Portland a couple of weeks ago. So I think that's very likely. And you really surprised me then, because I really thought you were teeing yourself up for one of your famous dad jokes.
Me? Never. You can watch that game against Vancouver in Vancouver, 6 o'clock this Saturday on the CW Austin. Thank you so much for joining us for another episode of Final Whistle ATX. You can always watch us on Facebook, YouTube, and KXAN.com from BD Riley's.
And tell us how bad our opinions are, because
Please do.
There might have been some bad ones this week.
Cheers, everybody.
Cheers.
Cheers, guys.